Welcome to another webinar with Sophie, Peter, and your truly me. We are going to talk about 9 ways to be more creative. And we live, when we talk about this kind of VUCA times, and now there is, I think there is a new acronym, BINI or something like that. But it's funny because when you get a kind of VUCA event that is a pandemic, it's clearly a VUCA pandemic. One of the first reaction is, oh, the whole set has changed. No, actually, this is VUCA being VUCA. So, and one of the things that you have to address is that you have to be creative, because if things keep changing very fast, is at the same time creating the need to be creative. And the only way to thrive is to be creative. If not, you will be left behind as a professional for sure. So I think that's why this webinar is so important in the times that we are living, is that people's careers depend on being creative, of thinking out of the box, of not always thinking in the same line, because you know what? The world has changed. So, and it has changed forever. Even with vaccine and everything, it will change forever. So this has been a huge introduction, I know, but I thought that it would be nice to cover a little bit of this beforehand. And as always, the first to kick the ball will be Sophie. What is your first way to be more creative?
Thank you. Hi, everyone who's listening. Well, I think one of the best advice I know about is to exercise. And I realized this many years ago, probably like 15, 20 years ago, when I was in the gym and I was doing some crunches and squats. And I realized while I was doing these exercises, I solved a few problems I had at work. And I've been speaking about this before here in the webinars, but I think this is so worth repeating. And I solved a problem, and then I got back to work and I implemented the solution I had got into my head. And then a few years later, I read about this, what it is that's happening. And it's a way of giving your brain a bit of extra energy to exercise. So the brain creates new connections, and it's because you're releasing I think it's a protein that's called BDNF. And that goes into your system, and it helps the brain to create these new connections, and it makes you more creative. And you can create BDNF in your body to listen to new music, to exercise. And I think it's better to exercise like the big muscles, like the tummy, the legs, the back. And you need to sort of be a bit get a bit sweaty while you do this, and it works better. So anyway, first advice, create BDNF by exercising or listen to new music that you haven't listened to before.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. And Peter, your turn.
Thank you. Yeah, I really liked Sophie's one about the exercise, and the concept of making new connections leads on to mine, which is to get exposure to people and ideas and experiences that you wouldn't normally come across. So each of us lives in a little bit of a bubble. We have our friends and our family and our colleagues that we deal with all the time. So certain sorts of people we choose to spend time with. And even on the internet, we watch certain things. And of course, the algorithms learn what we like. So they give us more of what we already like and what we already know. So it's getting exposure to things and people that are different is really stimulating to creativity, because we can meet people we wouldn't normally meet. So, for example, I'm on a course at the moment, and there's a lady on the course who is very different to me. She's a Black British woman living in Spain. I'm a white Australian man living in the UK. And I watched a little video she'd done, and she talked about certain things that I personally don't agree with. And rather than judge her and stay separate from her, I've reached out to her. We had a great meeting last week. We're getting to know each other. And I think in doing that, I think it's really important to find points of connection where you agree on things and you have rapport. So you want to keep building the relationship, but then explore points of difference, things that might cause conflict, and explore that, because ultimately we can get the best of both. I grew up on a farm in Australia. My dad was, as a farmer, taught me something called in biology called hybrid vigor, which is when you bring together different strains of or different genetic strains, you get something that comes out of it that's even stronger. And so he said that's why children of mixed race are often more beautiful, because they've got the best of both. My brother's married to a Chinese girl, and their daughter is gorgeous. This lady I was just talking about, she's married to a white British man, and they have children. And I just think the whole concept of making new connections is really powerful. So that's mine.
Actually, connecting with your idea, Peter, my suggestion comes from one thing that Sophia and I, we were in this organization, and I'm still as a senator, and Sophia also.
JCI.
JCI. And one of the things that I was doing there as a trainer, I did public speaking and debating academies. And one of the things that I learned about debating, because this is something that, for instance, for Southern European countries, is very strange. People having fun in debating. Yeah. It is very strange. It's like, why this? But actually, it is interesting. It's an absolutely amazing exercise in terms of creativity, especially if you get to be in favor or against a topic that it's actually your opposite position. Yeah. So you have to debate it like
the opposite,
defending the opposite position that you believe. Yes. So this is quite interesting because suddenly you start to be very creative. Yes. And it's a wonderful exercise. I think that many times people don't know what they can do in an evening or something like that. And there are small, funny things like that you can do. And one of them is this of debating. You can put like, okay, you're against this. Now you will defend in favor, and that we are in favor, we will defend against it. So, and I will give another exercise in my second one, so that it's a kind of play game that you can do it without anything, only small pieces of paper. And in this case of the debate, you don't even need that. But it's wonderful if you want to create creativity. And for instance, you can use it in a company. You can see that, okay, there are two very divided positions in terms of a plan to implement or a decision to make. And you can say, okay, I want you to do the opposite, to defend exactly what you said that you didn't, and come back to the meeting. And suddenly they have to see the arguments from both sides, and it's a wonderful exercise, and you can be really creative with that.
I think connected to that as well is the doing improv.
Yeah. That was my second one.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, I won't steal your thunder then. Okay.
I will explain how I do it.
Okay, lovely.
Okay, so don't steal that from me. That's why I said that is another exercise that is good.
Okay, sorry.
You guess it because you did improv. but I will explain.
So, sorry, was that your first point, or were you?
That was my first point.
Okay. So, in a nutshell, what would
Debate.
you? What's the word? Play.
Debate.
So, debate from an opposite position that you would
Exactly.
normally take.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love it.
Okay. So, Sophie, it is your turn. Sweden.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, my second top tip is about limit yourself. Set up limits. And I think that one of the worst curses, I'm not sure if I'm like, it looks like you are in the picture, Philip. Well, anyway.
I am in the picture?
Yeah, well, I'm not. The picture often moves, but now you are in the picture. I don't know how it's recording. Yeah. Anyway, you hear my voice.
It looks fine to me.
Okay, good. Now it moved to you and not to me. This is strange. Yeah. Well, I think one of the largest curses that doesn't help us when we try to be creative is that we have so much freedom. We can do whatever we want. And it sort of gets overwhelming and you don't do anything. And if you are like in a competition, or you are in say you are in a photo competition, they often give you a quite limited idea about what you should shoot, what you should bring into your picture. And it sort of starts something inside you. So they say you should take a photo of trees and the tree from a new perspective. And it sort of starts something within you. If they say, just take a photo, go out, shoot, do whatever you want, you go, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And it's the same like if you want to be a creative writer, a creative artist, a creative photographer, whatever you do and you want to be creative and invent something new, limit yourself and don't make your box too big, because it's hard to be creative when you have so much freedom. Limit yourself. Maybe you set up some limits together with the group you're working, and your brain sort of will find a space to think within these new limits, and the boundaries will help you create something new. So I think it's good ways to say goodbye to the limitless creativity that is just there because you get overwhelmed. Set up limits and help yourself in those like small portions of creativity that comes to you. And I promise it's fantastic. I've been in projects where people are coming up with the most amazing ideas when they are using these boundary techniques.
It is actually, I've never thought about like that, but it's very true. I was thinking about those restaurants where you have huge menus that basically you end up choosing always the same, even though you have a lot of possibilities. And the funny thing is that you might go to another restaurant and complain that you don't have so much possibilities, that you prefer to have more possibilities. And this is actually one of the reasons why now it's easier to manipulate information than before, because you give a lot of possibilities and people end up choosing one channel, one person to tell them what to think. And it's interesting. It's a kind of human reaction to diversity. So, Peter, tell me.
It's almost like we planned this, because mine builds nicely on Sophie's. I really like that idea of limitation. So my second one is to embrace silence and embrace space, because we fill our time with relentless activity, and we just get so much noise in our system. And we all tend to, I don't know if you've heard the saying, we think 50,000 thoughts a day and 99% of them are the same ones. So we run the same patterns over and over again.
Well,
whether it's
joke, especially if we are men.
Yeah. So we run the same patterns over and over again, the same thoughts, feelings, and actions, and all we do is do them faster and faster. So we're on the little hamster wheel, running and running and running, and we don't take time out. And I think particularly since the lockdowns and people working from home, you don't even have to travel anywhere. You don't have to drive or take a train to get to a meeting. The next meeting is right there on your computer screen, following the one you were just on. You don't even walk across an office. And so people will book their meetings back to back, and they have no space, no time to reflect or rest. And it's often in the silence or the space that the creative ideas come to us. I read an article on the weekend about human beings tend to put more in when they're trying to solve a problem. They bring more in rather than take things out. So they gave people puzzles and said, you know, you need to create this, and then they'd want to bring more things in. And sometimes the best solution to the puzzle was to actually take certain things out. So for some reason, we think more is better. And coming back to the topic of too much choice, I think there's a TED talk called The Paradox of Choice, which is we think that a free society is one that has more choice, but actually the more choices we have, the less free we become, because we're slaves to unnecessary complexity. So yeah, mine connects nicely to Sophie's, I think, around the kind of limiting, not having too much and creating silence and creating space.
About silence, I'm not sure that in Sweden is like that, but the Finnish have something that is very funny. They say for a person from South Europe, this is crazy what I'm about to say. They say silence is a part of the conversation.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant.
So it is. I get along very well with Finnish people because I know that. Because if I wouldn't understand that, it would be like, okay, what's happening? Somebody say something. Somebody say something.
Fill the space. Fill the space. Yeah.
Because we are live. Talk. So
no, like I think like when you speak to a Finnish person, they can be silent for 60 seconds and it's not a problem. In Sweden, it's maybe like 20 seconds, and in London, it's like 5 seconds.
And New York, you don't have any seconds.
No.
It's basically like in Portugal. 1 second past, why are you not saying anything? So it's really, really complicated. Well, my second one that Peter tried to steal, but he
sorry,
I stopped you from that, is actually improv. But I got a very simple exercise that is very funny, is that you put it in a basket, you put a character, a paper with a character, a place, a situation, and you mix, you have 3 baskets basically, and you take a paper from each basket, and then you have to be a character. You can be, let's say, a fireman in a pharmacy in the midst of a tsunami, and then you have to act. But the other person maybe gets like a stripper in the same pharmacy in the midst of the tsunami. So imagine what is the dialogues, and also, sorry, mood. The mood that you should have. You be sad or happy or completely crazy. So, but nobody knows who you are, what is your mood, only knows what is the place and what is the situation. So it is a very funny exercise, because suddenly you start doing crazy stuff, and it gets even crazier if you film it and then you see it afterwards, because it's like it's a sure thing that you will laugh a lot. So that was and that is really getting out of the box, because people tend to put very strange characters and very strange moods to choose. So in order to embarrass one another, and so it will be funny.
Improv is fantastic. I think
Improv
it's
is fantastic in that.
it's
I'm very bad at it for sure, but I get a
It's
lot
fun
of
when someone is bad at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I
you
think
can't be bad at it. It's
Yeah.
like that's the whole point.
the worst you are, if you are like Oscar material, you will not have so much fun, and people will be like, okay, yeah, I saw that movie, yeah.
And one of the important things in improv is to respond to what's handed to you, because if someone says a line and you don't respond, if you've already got an idea. Sorry?
You cannot be finished on that.
What do you mean?
You cannot be finished waiting 60 seconds.
No.
Finish as in from Finland.
Exactly.
The silence.
Oh, okay.
The silence.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also it's really important. Well, it's the yes and rather than the but. You know, it's like someone.
Oh my God, that was my third one.
Oh, sorry. It's like we planned it. I'm just a coming attraction. Coming attraction. But it's the whole notion when someone presents something to you, you go with that rather than have your own idea that what you want to say in the improv show. You've got to respond to what's right in front of you. So, yes, very important. On to Sophie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sophie.
Yeah. Well, I have two choices now. One thing is about doing things. I have two choices here, what I should choose. So one is like a thing that you do at home every day. And the other one is something that you sort of have put you into this mood. What should I
Why do
pick?
we have to choose? Why don't we got time for a bonus one?
Okay, yeah, cool. I do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, but I think one thing that I thought about quite a lot is when you do the same thing, you know, you repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I think that's like this sort of doing the same thing again and again. It can be like, you know, you are preparing something for a party and you do those small nice napkins, or you are folding your clothes after washing them, doing something that's repetitive. I think that can be quite releasing for your brain. You sort of get a bit your brain relaxes, and sort of you come up with new ideas about how to solve something you've been thinking about. It's a similar effect as when you exercise, and I think like these quite boring things can be good for your brain, because you solve problems while doing things. You repeat the movement. This is not if you do this for like 8 hours, but maybe for 1 hour, it's quite good.
Isn't that a bit like the idea of the rosary beads? That's the whole thing. You actually move in a rhythm from bead to bead or something. Is that the same sort of thing?
I think so. But what's that? What is rose? What was it you said?
So is it Catholics? You'd know more about this, Mr. Portugal, is it?
Yeah.
Catholic country. So rosary beads are something they use for
also,
prayer and meditation.
In Arab countries, you see even much more than in Catholic ones.
Yeah.
What, in like Eastern religion as well?
Yeah. I think my dad has got them as presents when he's been abroad. But it's releasing, and I'm quite good at meditating. I'm quite good. I'm really bad at meditating, not doing nothing. I need to do something, and then my brain can sort of relax.
So it's physical activity that's repetitive rather than just sitting still. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Peter.
Are we having your other one, Sophie, or is that at the end?
At the end, we can have a bonus.
No, I can take it now. I can do it now.
Okay.
A quick one. I think if anyone wants to be sort of creative while developing new content, developing new ideas, this is like in the context of marketing for me. I think it's amazing to do creative writing and join a creative writing group. It's quite hard to do by yourself, but it's extremely releasing, and it's like therapy for your brain, body, and soul.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I did that. Well, before the pandemic, I was part of a group. We met once a week. It was fantastic. I used to say it was like my therapy or my church. It was incredibly fun and inspiring and creative. And we would write short pieces and read them, and it was amazing what people could do. Yeah, absolutely loved it. So my final one is to remember that the real meaning of the word create is to bring into existence. So people often say, oh, I'm very creative. And what they mean is they have lots of ideas, but their ideas never turn into anything, and I've done that myself. I've had ideas for books. I've, half written books, but the books never came into existence. So I didn't really create anything. I just had nice ideas. So it's about making sure that our ideas come along with other things like emotion and vision and logic and action that actually creates something real. And I was thinking about it this morning, and I was thinking a really good tool to use is the 6 thinking hats, De Bono's 6 thinking hats, because you can have the creative ideas, but you need to bring it together with things like processes, and you need to check your facts, and you need to get engaged emotionally, but you also need to look at the negatives. What could go wrong? That kind of thing. So I just think whether you're doing it by yourself or you're doing it with other people, to make sure that all of those different aspects are brought into the process. Because if you want to build a business or take a product to market, it's more than just an idea. It has to be all of the good thinking and feeling that goes around it and the action. So just remember that to create means to bring something into existence.
Actually, it connects with the but and because that I was going to talk about, because I got in touch with that concept from a friend that he's a trainer in Estonia. And I never thought about that, actually, that the difference that it makes of taking out the buts, not the thing that we have under our back, but. So it is very interesting when you start, let's say, an email, and you say, I would like to do this and that, but you create a negative response on the brain of the person that is reading that. So, but I need more resources. But if you say, and I need more resources in order to achieve it, okay, it is completely different. If you remove, even when you are talking, when you really try to be creative, you need to remove all the buts. And you shouldn't accept the buts from your team. When they start saying but, you say, no, change it. Now say and, because with that, you already need to give an action in order to override all the cautions that you are talking, for instance. So the cautions shouldn't be put it like, this is a great idea, but we have to be careful. It should be, and we have to be careful with this and this and that. So we should do this and this and that. So we focus much more in the solution than the problem. So more or less in this way, it's also going towards what Sophie was telling, and going towards the solution and not the problem. So it is a very simple thing, but it is so important.
Yeah, and I think what happens is when people say but, they're stopping the flow of energy, which is why improv is so good, because improv is about keeping the energy flowing and keep moving all the time, more like a dance than a fight. And so but is stopping the energy, whereas and is moving the energy but guiding it. Because some people might think, well, if I'm not allowed to say but, it means I'm not allowed to raise any objections or highlight any potential issues. And as you said, it's not about that. It's like, and we need to address these issues, not we can't do it because of these issues. It's a very different thing. Because I think the mistake some people make is, well, you're not allowed to express concerns about things, you know. So it's going on in the world right now. There are people who are expressing concerns about the, you know, vaccines. They're expressing concerns about lockdowns, and a lot of the time they're being shut out of the debate. YouTube will ban people who question that, and that's unhealthy because it drives the wrong kind of behaviors. We need to be having a conversation about all the different perspectives and being open and honest and thinking together about the right solutions. So yeah, but is not a helpful thing to say.
Yeah. So, and that concludes our 9 ways to be more creative.
10.
Yeah, actually 10, but
9 plus
9
1
plus
today.
bonus.
Yeah, bonus today.
Okay, guys, it as always, it has been a great pleasure to be with you guys. This time, actually, I'm not here in Lisbon. I'm in Spain. So from Sweden, from England, and from Spain. Imagine this. So, but I'm missing my dear Lisbon. So, guys, again, it was a pleasure. This is one of the best ways of spending confinement is talking with you guys. So, thank you.